Welcome to the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Matthew Connor here, host of the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature successful business leaders, top law firms, green energy companies, and more. Today, we are joined once again by the CEO, co-founder of Fit Solutions, Ephraim Ebstein. Ephraim, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. And before we get too far into it, a quick word from our sponsors. This episode was brought to you by Duo. Duo provides superhero level multi-factor authentication, as well as passwordless and single sign-on. We're huge fans of Duo at Cyberlink, and I'll tell you why. MFA can be bypassed if you have access to the person's mobile phone. And we had a client come to us with that exact issue. And so once we found out that Duo could enforce Face ID or fingerprint ID with their multi-factor authentication, we became huge fans and partners. So big fans. If you haven't checked them out before, check them out at duo.com. And now back to our show. Ephraim, again, such a pleasure to have you on. We had such a great time on the last episode. Glad you agreed to come back, for a second bite.
Appreciate it. Yeah, glad to be back. I felt like we didn't get a talk. We ran out of time last time.
Yeah, it was getting up there. But hey, Time flies when you're having fun.
That's right.
Well, today I thought we'd continue our conversation and kind of go into what I think would be a bit of a masterclass. I mean, you shared with us your story, which was fantastic, and how you went about a lot of stuff. And now I think kind of doing a deep dive, if you will, as a bit of a masterclass for MSPs, I think would be great. So if you're good with it, let's dive in, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. Happy to.
Okay. So I think I'd like to start on the sales and marketing side. You've done some really cool stuff. In fact, I found out about you through I think it was an Instagram reel. It might have just been on your thing. It might have been an ad. Okay. I'm not sure. But as I started looking at it, you do some great videos. You've got some really cool ads. I'm really curious, like how you went about that. Because some of them were fantastic. Like the key in the car one, I was like, that's brilliant. That was just great. So we'll get to that. I don't want to give any spoilers, but let's back up. How did you get to that point? Like, and where did you go about it? There's just so much there. I'll let you go with it.
So I think it started with more on the sales and then kind of moved over to the marketing. Like we always knew that marketing was important. We never, up until now, we still fully haven't cracked that nut. We're still trying to figure that out, in all honesty.
The marketing side?
The marketing side. Yeah. I feel like, some businesses lend themselves really well to marketing, right? Like if you're a growth accelerator for a business, you market that, someone's like, man, I want my business to grow. They're gonna think about that. On the cybersecurity side and the IT side, people tend to only want to deal with it if it's like a real problem. So I kind of feel calling out the customer on the marketing is key. Like, are you an IT director of an IT team that's struggling with cybersecurity? Boom, and now we go into so calling out exactly who we're wanting to talk to, because if an IT director actually sees it, he might be like, oh, I am an IT director and we are struggling with cybersecurity. Now he might want to listen to the ad. So that's kind of where we've been going. But we've tried everything, pay-per-click. Our SEO is okay. We're trying to keep growing that. We're doing email marketing, and we need to get better at that. I think the one thing that I kind of have learned is the volume is really important, right? Like the amount of content that needs to be created. I feel like we're only doing a fraction of the content that needs to actually be created to get a result. And so, I got that from an Alex Hormozy video, and he kind of talked about how he was just doing a couple posts a week, and he paid a mentor to kind of like help him out that's doing bigger things. He's like, Yeah, well, I do like 5 posts a day. You do like 3 a week. Like it's just a volume game. And so I think with this atmosphere, we just have to do volume to try and get that recognition of what we're doing.
It's funny because I literally just last night I was watching a talk that Gary Vaynerchuk was giving on to a bunch of mortgage brokers down in Florida. And it just released the video like last night. I don't know. It just was on my YouTube, and I was like, oh yeah. I was like, you know what? Let's use YouTube for all these good things. Like you can learn how to play guitar.
Yeah.
How about marketing? How about sales stuff? Right. So yeah, brainstorm. Right. Oh, brilliant. Why didn't I think of this years ago? In any event, came across that, and he was saying the same exact thing. He's like, you got to do 5 a day on each of the platforms. I'm like, 5 a day? It just seems like, one seems like a lot, right?
Right. It is. It's a lot of work to even do one a day.
Yeah. And then 5, are you just like spamming people, spamming the few people that you got following you? And I think, and I'm kind of curious your take on this, I think that's partially my own head trash. And then in that, I don't think people care. They may or may not see it. But I think what they're trying to do is use the fact that you get to create social for zero actual dollars. You're not paying per ad, you're not paying per click. But then you could potentially any one of those could go viral. And now you have lots of new followers. And I think putting in that time and effort, that's tough. That's a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's it. And so we've now grown our marketing team. We kind of started with like internal resource, and she was like kind of doing everything, creative, like working with different vendors, all kinds of things. Then we really got a little more focused, and we said we need an IT a marketing project manager, right? So they're running all of the projects associated with marketing and putting metrics to it. And so that was a really big thing because I noticed in marketing, we got a lot of people that I don't know how to describe it. They're just kind of like it's kind of like HR people, very like they're not super data focused. Like you say, hey, well, how many leads did we get? Well, it's not all about leads. It's all, it's also about, and I was like, I know it's about those, but I need to know, I need to have a number to hold accountability to. And so we've got a really, really great gentleman that he is a data guy. He is not emotionally hung up on any marketing campaign, on any project. And that's exactly what you need because someone pours their heart and soul into a project or a design, doesn't then you want to tweak on it, they get emotional about it, they're very defensive on the numbers and the data. You need it just needs to be purely numbers, and you need just a data person that's like looking at that, okay, that didn't work, adjust.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty obvious that, on the creative side, creative people tend to be creative and they really don't like tying a bunch of numbers to their creativity.
Yeah, it's two different personalities, really.
It makes
Exactly.
sense. So to your
So
point, that's why you got that project manager to tie the numbers to it. Let creative do
yeah,
their thing.
and then exactly, and really identify with the roles, the creative or the marketing project manager, looking at that job description, and in the job description, the top 3 things. What are the top 3 things that they're responsible for? Because every job description has like 100 things, but identifying these are the top 3 to 4 things that your job success or failure depends on. Everything else is additional responsibilities that you're going to take care of, but they never trump those top ones. So if it's like, let's say it's an editor or videographer that they're editing this many videos a day and getting them posted out. If it's the project, the marketing manager, it's like leads per month, projects on time, certain, whatever, however you spell that out, but then you have clarity on each role within that, because a lot of times I think the mistake we were making was we just threw everything on one person, and we just weren't getting results.
Good lesson learned.
Yeah.
Well, so let me take you back to that key in the door a video that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
That I thought was brilliant. I mean, it was really well done. And I'm gonna put a link to it down below when we're done, because I thought it was just absolutely fantastic. Can you tell us the story behind that? I mean, that couldn't have been easy to come up with, or maybe it's an analogy you've been using forever. Regardless, I thought it was brilliant. And could you tell us the story how'd
Thanks.
that come to be?
Yeah, actually that was kind of spread. That wasn't like planned out. So my car, the story is really funny. We went down, me and my wife went down from 2 cars to 1 car during the COVID time, and now we have a couple more. But for a while, and even past COVID, we just kind of kept 1 car because we weren't needing it so much. And then like the 1 car that we had went in the shop. And so I was like, you know what? I want to I have a buddy that he's always renting cool cars, and I'm the guy that's always renting like the economy like thing. And I'm like, you know what? My car's in the shop for a few days. Why don't I have some fun? So I rented an orange Lotus Evora, and just purely for fun. I needed a car for 3 days anyway. I was like, well, I might as well have some fun with it. So that's what I did. And then I had the car. I was like, hey, we should film some marketing content. I didn't exactly know how to do it, and I didn't want to really come off as like a douchebag, with the
Right.
car.
Right.
But I love cars, and so I just figured, like, let's just figure something. So I did a couple videos. I did one about like um entrepreneurship. Wasn't really about IT and cybersecurity, but I kind of had the sports cars. Like, a lot of people think, being an entrepreneur is this, but it's really this. And then I had this old kind of beater Forerunner that I actually not it wasn't that one, but like for years that I started the business, I was like living below my means. I think I talked about that in the last one. I had like an old 1999 Forerunner, and so I did a video like that, and I was like, oh, man, what other content we do? And like, oh, cybersecurity one. Okay, let's talk about the leaving your car unlocked. So that's just it kind of happened naturally. We had the car there. We were trying to come up with ideas. So we were just playing around, and that one kind of, you never know what's going to hit. And I think I always hear other people saying that about, videos. They're like, oh, I never thought that one might be a popular one. But you just kind of make a lot of content, and some hit, some you think are good, but no one really cares.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's their point, why you got to try to shoot for, 3 to 5 a day. Um, which I still got to figure out myself. All night I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do that. That seems like a lot, but is it worth a shot? I mean, if you're just kind of throwing it out there kind of quickly, but decent content, I don't know. Maybe you could do one every 15, 20 minutes and, spend an hour a day on it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard. What we've been doing, I got a videographer now. He's a videographer editor. We're not big enough to have like both positions, but
Hmm.
we have the one, and he'll film content once or twice a week, and we'll try to do a bunch, and we'll just kind of like, he'll have a list of stuff he wants to film, and then there's stuff that maybe I'll just like come up with on the fly. We'll film it, he'll edit it up, the next few days, and then that way it makes it a little easier that you're not having to film every day.
Nice. Love it. And do you use your marketing guys, or team? Do they, you guys like spitball a bunch of ideas, or is this all
I
kind of land
definitely,
on your shoulders?
yeah, yeah, we do. We have like weekly marketing meetings, and we talked about that. We created. I don't know. Did you ever see the videos we did with the? We actually got paid actors. Wasn't me. That were kind of like the knights, the general, and he's like
No, I didn't see that
kind
one.
of talking about protecting the castle type deal, and we have an actor in costume and stuff. And
Nice.
I really thought those videos, they weren't cheap to produce, and they're my favorite ones. They're really funny, and the even the watch rate. Like, a lot of people, typically when a video starts, they kind of stop. but the watch rate, people watching through the end, was really high. So really good.
Nice.
But they didn't necessarily convert into leads. And so, that's kind of a challenge.
Yeah. Going right back to your original point.
Yeah.
Well, sales and marketing, they, kind of tie hand in. Yeah, actually, you know what? Before I go there, we talked about the social media marketing. How about the inbound marketing? Because that's along those same lines. I think a little easier, maybe though, to tie into the data. What do you guys do for your inbound marketing? How's that working for you?
Like, you mean someone that's already a lead or an existing client?
Well, like maybe things like blogs. I guess even podcasts could be. I know you
Yeah.
said you weren't great
So
on S.
so yeah, great question. So I have the podcast called The Breach Report, and kind of like you, I like to bring in guests. The theme of it is definitely a little more cybersecurity focused, not so business focused per se. The
Mhm.
target audience for us are internal IT departments, typically with that breach report. And we talk about breaches, we talk about how they happened. And then I would just like to kind of interview um, people from the IT cybersecurity industry, kind of what they are doing, seeing what they've seen, their recommendations. So that's kind of what
Love
we've been
it.
doing there. And then we'll take that content. We allow people to actually listen live. So we'll typically similar to a webinar. It's not a webinar. It's actually like a podcast interview style, just like this.
Mhm.
But we'll let them listen live, and they can throw questions in the chat. And if
Right.
they ask a good question, I'll grab it and you know say that this person asked this question. So that's kind of cool, and let the guest answer it. Um, we're pretty new at it still. We don't have a lot of guests listening in. So honestly, even if only one or two guests listen in, it's usually around 8 to 10 right now. It's not that many, but
Mhm.
if it's we're seeing it steadily grow. But even if someone is no one listens in, we still have it for the podcast, for the website, for we can chop up clips and do that kind of thing. So that works pretty well. Um, and then we honestly, we probably need to get on the blogs. We did them a while back, and I know they probably help a lot with SEO, but I don't feel like we've been able to give it the attention it needs.
It's funny because well, a couple of things. First, I think the your podcast idea, with the breach report, I think that's brilliant when you're looking at going after those IT departments, creating content that even if they're like, yeah, I know that, um, kind of establishing yourself as the authority to say, yeah, you may already know this, but you know what, so do we, and we can help lighten that load for you. And maybe sometimes you're bringing them new stuff that they didn't know, and they're like, oh, that's a great point. We should start doing that. Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, you've identified your target there. Have you noticed? Have you had any? I know it's tough to
Yeah,
convert that,
yeah,
but
it's still early, but we definitely got some leads out of it. So what ended up happening, I think people that were, you know, had heard about it from us, that kind of maybe are like dancing around thinking about us. They might have listened to a breach report, and then they're like, oh, this was a little different than a typical. Like, usually when I go on a webinar, they're just pitching me on our product or service.
exactly
There was no pitch here. This was just a really cool
information.
interview with somebody that we liked. I see this company as maybe a subject matter expert, or someone that is doing things in the industry. Let's have a conversation. So we got a couple conversations out of it, which was great.
Nice. So in that, are you inviting, say, prospective client, prospects to come listen in?
Definitely.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm
That's
trying to get
brilliant.
our existing clients. I'm trying to get all the prospects. Literally anybody that is
That's
willing
awesome.
to part listen.
Yeah.
I want them on there. Shoot, even a lost client. I don't even care. Anybody's there. Competitors.
No, that's great because you're right. Webinars, I think people become. I think webinars and conferences, people are so used to being, sold stuff there, and it's just okay. Sure, if they show up, you've created basically a car lot and said, hey, you want to buy cars? And anybody who shows up, hey, they might want to buy a car because they came on the lot. Sure. But I think that deters a lot of people who may be interested in the information but don't want to be sold. So I think that's just a great idea for any MSP who's like, hey, what do our prospective clients want to hear? What kind of information can we put out there for them without selling them? But like you said, establish yourself as a bit of a subject matter expert.
Yeah.
So, and he also gives you another way to pop up on their feed. If they're following you on social media, then you're releasing that.
Yeah. And once again, I just need people. The lead might even not even come from the marketing. They might actually call or email at a later time. But I just need people thinking about fit, thinking about me. I need their mind space because, I mean, how often is it like a scenario came up and then you could have made a recommendation, but you forgot about who it even was that did that? And,
Right.
whereas if like they're always seeing me and then, I don't know, their mother-in-law's company has a data breach and they're like, oh man, I know the guy, you got to talk to him. He's really great. That means something.
Yeah, right. I mean, attention equals dollars, right? It's if you can get
Yes.
their attention, and you're only going to do that, I think, now with putting out good information. So,
I
love
think
that
so.
podcast idea. Okay, well, let's keep going on that. Then you said, I know you've kind of taken pot shots at your own SEO a couple times already, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, we just recently, literally about 1 month ago, started exploring the whole SEO thing. We found this really great group, mostly because the guy was putting out such great YouTube content.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that's, it's phenomenal. I mean, it was just hours and hours and hours of great content, just giving it away. I was like, okay, well, I could spend the next, 600 hours watching these and learning all this stuff, or we could just hire them to do it. And they've been all results based. And I was like, this is phenomenal. But in doing so, I started learning about things like the domain reputation. So one of the things I did was take a look at yours and some others like Electric AI, some of these really good kind of leaders in the industry. And I'm not sure why you're taking pot shots at your stuff because your domain, reputation is way up there. I mean, you're
That's
like
good.
a 35, 36, something like that, which is the same as Electric. And they're like, what are they? I mean, they're massive now.
That's good.
So yeah, it's really not bad. And your backlinks are really good. And so it's funny to hear you say that. Was there just a time when you were focused on that and then it fell off and it's
No,
just kind of maintained?
we're still working on it. I think I just wanted more instant results. So we did
Yeah.
like a lot of ad-based marketing, which still didn't seem that instant. You know what I mean? Like we didn't get as much. So I think, I think SEO, what I've learned is really important because it's kind of like it builds the reputation over time.
Yeah.
So we've been doing more with SEO. We've I'd love to hear about your agency.
Yeah. I'll put a link in and I'll send it to
Yeah.
you.
Put that link in there too.
I will. I'll put a link in for everybody. I should know their name right off the top of my head here. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'll look it up real fast. Let me see. Um, Julian Goldie.
Okay.
So the Goldie agency. Yeah, it's like I said, the YouTube content was just, I was like, oh, and to go back to your original point of it's hard. How do you create the content? Like I get for his, right? For SEO, clearly you can tell everybody everything and they're going to be like, yeah, okay. And you could kind of do that with cybersecurity, but and maybe it's just my head trash, right? Maybe we totally could just do hundreds and hundreds of hours of cybersecurity content, just kind of educating the world about stuff and putting it out there. And maybe that leads to sales because nobody actually, they don't actually want to do it. They'd much rather hire, somebody to do it versus go spend the 600 hours to learn it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think I used to be more protective, like about, especially when we started, like of our, I don't know, secret sauce, which is really not that secret, you know what I mean? But
Totally.
like just how we structured, how we delivered service, everything. I wanted to keep certain things private, like so that we could have a competitive edge. But then um, I think I've gotten to a place, and I probably just learned this from others, but you can tell everybody exactly how you do it, and I mean, one out of a million is going to actually do it, that so, and if they did it, like, good for them. And
Exactly. The marketplace is so
yeah,
big.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna, like, I could tell everybody exactly how we deliver IT services, our processes, our policies, like how we train, how we role play, how we structure the teams, like how we price. And like, to go do it is such hard work, such a massive undertaking that most people aren't willing to do it, that it doesn't really matter.
Yep. Totally agree. Um, well, let me ask you,
Yeah.
while we're still on the topic of marketing, have you guys ever tried any outbound marketing, like old school flyers, like mailers, and even outbound calls?
Yeah. So we played with some outbound marketing. I felt like it would only work if it was 100% ink. And like, I don't think you're gonna send a flyer or send like a care package or something and necessarily get a call back. But what you could do is, which we've done a little bit in the past, we are big believers in cold calling. It does work. It's super hard. You have to you got to get really good at talking. You got to master your scripts. And then even if you're the best, you got to do volume. Like, I mean, a lot of volume. Like, you might have to do 300 calls that day to get one appointment. So, that's tough. Now, what you could do, is you can, if you have like very targeted clients you want, you could invest some money to maybe send a care package. Then when you cold call, it's like, hey, I'm calling for Brad. This is Ephraim. The reason I was calling, I sent a care package. I just wanted to make sure that you got it. We really want to see if there's any IT business problems that we could solve for you. If there was one IT problem that you were struggling with right now, what would it be? Right now, you have a little bit more of some goodwill that that gives you perhaps a conversation that you might have otherwise hung up, and now he kind of, you gave him something. Now he's going to want to reciprocate. There's a
Mhm.
there's a chance of that. They do that when you go into a nice like clothing store, right? Like, say it's a suit store or a dress shop, and they're like, if it's the nice one where they, like, stuff's
Extra
expensive.
budget.
Like,
Yep.
if you go into a Chanel store or something,
Mhm.
and they realize that you might be a serious buyer, or you're like trying some stuff on, they're like, oh, can I get you a water?
Water. Yep.
The better ones will even be like, you want a glass of
Liquor. Yep.
champagne?
Hmm.
Like, now they're really doing it. Now, like, if you say yes to that glass of champagne, it's going to be really hard to not buy something. And it's not necessarily because of the alcohol in you, it's more because they've given something and you feel terrible walking out without reciprocating.
Yep. So true. Plus, it also, even beyond that, lowers those inhibitions, right? So you've
True.
had a couple
Yes. Yes.
drinks, you're looking good in the stuff. There's a great little outfit. Have you heard of State and Liberty?
I
I
have.
think
Is it a
they
clothing store? Or
it's a
what?
clothing store and it's
Yeah.
for athletic build, right, guys? And so
Okay.
the
Nice.
shirts are stretchy, kind of, but still form fitting, still look really good. They also do
Nice.
suits. Yeah, they were like a pop up in New York, and then they had one right here, and I think they've got one in LA as well. But in any event, they're moving mostly online. But that is what they did. Well, first time I went into their store, it was, and they had their own little bar. You could get a
Yeah.
scotch or whatever, and just had a nice time sitting around talking to the guys, trying on some outfits. Yeah, I left having bought a lot of their stuff, and as you can tell, a big fan. So I don't think it was just because of the drink, but yeah, that kind of stuff works, right? I mean,
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. So, I mean, you could, if you have some good targets, that might be worth sending something in and then trying to follow up with a phone call. Your odds are going to be better than if it's just a phone call.
so do
But
you do that? Have you done that with like your Dream 100 clients? Something like that where hey, the Dream 100, we'll spend 15, $20 or whatever to send them a care package and then the call because it's hard to get them, or
yeah, Yeah, we have, and it's kind of like it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
But then again, like I feel like we spend so much money on ads and going to events for a couple leads that you know what the cost is kind of it's kind of
Yeah.
equal or less.
So, so you found better success than in just the cold calling, hitting the phones, dialing for dollars.
Dialing for dollars definitely works. It's difficult, it's hard, but networking and creating your circle, your power base, your circle of influence, going to networking events and trying to take anyone and everyone to lunch that could doesn't just have to be a client, but if it's somebody that has some influence or might know somebody or could potentially be a partner at some point, all those things, take them a lunch. There's something about eating with people and creates a connection. They remember you for a lot longer, and then hopefully you get some referrals. So that
Love it.
definitely works as well. And
So let
people
me
are
ask you.
like, oh yeah, going to lunch, it sounds so fun. Yeah, it's fun a little bit, but then try booking 4 lunches a week and then in 2 months tell me how fun it is going to lunch every day. Like
It's
it's a
work.
lot
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you along those same lines. I think old school, thinking or old school, perhaps technique was you join a country club, you go golfing with people, and lots of deals are made on the golf course and at the country club. Have you tried that? Have you given that any thought? Join.
Yeah, I have. So I've been part of EO in the past. I'm not currently an active member, but that was kind of a good group, like of other entrepreneurs, like businesses. Now, you may or may not. When I was there, I didn't necessarily get a lot of business from the other businesses I was networking with, but like I met someone there that then referred some other businesses to me that weren't even part of EO when they had issues. So that kind of naturally happened. And once
Nice.
again, just you have to hit the pavement and you get out there. And that's sorry, I'm still getting over
It's
that
okay.
cough.
Still
But
recovering.
but
Yep.
yeah, I mean, just showing up is a lot of the battle. It's not all of it, but most people don't even show up. So
Yeah.
if you're showing up and then you keep pushing, it definitely works. The golf thing, I was never good at golf, so it's hard for me to say, but I will say this: I got invited when we were early. So we I think it was our second or third year in business. We were doing okay. We had not okay. We were doing good. We had some nice clients, and my business partner at the time, from his old job, kind of through his connections, knew an executive director of a nursing home and said, hey, they're having IT issues. He told them what they were doing. They're like, yeah, we're having a lot of IT issues. Maybe we can talk, just explore, see what you're doing. So it was great. And then he's like, but I'm not the business owner, right? I kind of help run this skilled nursing facility, rehab facility, but we have the owners, the CFO, the CEO, and stuff. You're going to have to talk to them. And so I said, yeah, absolutely. Tell us when, where. We kept following up. They're like, okay, meet us at this golf course. So we had our meeting with them, kind of in the like on the patio of one of the clubs there at the golf course. So that was pretty cool. So I guess deals are made at the golf course.
What they say. Well, speaking of that, those healthcare facilities. I mean, I know that kind of nursing and the home health. That's actually not even so much home health, but kind of the retirement communities, those home health community. Why do I keep saying home health? They're really
Yeah,
not, right? It's like that, those nursing, communities, senior living communities. Those
yeah.
can be really lucrative, right? I mean, they've got some that have multiple locations, big facilities. larger IT needs than they really
Yeah.
expect.
So the ones I was just telling you about, that their company name is PACS, Province Administrative Consulting Services, and we started with them when we met them at the golf course. They had 2 locations. And they said, "Yeah, we're growing," and wasn't that we didn't believe them, but we just didn't know like quite how
Yeah.
serious they were about that. Because every company, I feel like, says that they're growing.
Mhm.
These guys are now the fourth largest um, operator of skilled nursing rehab in the United States. It went
Wow.
from just being 2 locations, now they're over 185. And they say that they want the number 1 spot, and I absolutely believe that they will be taking that number 1 spot. They're great guys, dear friends, and I'm proud to be have been able to work with them to help them with that scale, because we've been onboarding new locations that they've acquired and taking them into the ecosystem for years now, and helping streamline that, helping them with their day-to-day operations and support. Now at this point, yeah, it's super cool. They have their own internal IT team, which is great. It's kind of as the companies mature and scale, they of course are going to take more in house, but still being part of that. Once again, our mission is to impact lives through technology, and I definitely think like we've gotten to do that with this customer, not only helping them and their employees. That I mean, it's trickled down. I feel even to the residents of these care facilities, because a lot of the care facilities they buy are in bad, not only bad financial shape, they're also usually kind of like, if you've ever walked into a nursing home that's poorly run, like you're like, man, this is the last place I want to be when I'm old. And so they've kind of helped make these places, when they come in, they make them better. The care is better. It's not just the technology, but everything about it, so that they can turn it into a profitable location, but also, better for which also means making it better for the residents as well.
Yeah. You hit on it again, there. And I know you did in the first episode where you talked about that sort of, it's not altruistic or benevolent, but your focus and goal really is you went from, and I don't know if you ever were really, but rather than being focused just on the money and let's grow and let's make as much money as we can, return on investment for shareholders. Instead of doing that, you really focused on how do you help people through technology, and you see it in your videos, and it comes across as genuine and not just, hey, it's just a way of getting business. And so I think that's really important for other MSPs to hear, because it's so, every business, honestly, right, it's so easy to
Yeah.
get caught up in, we need to make payroll, we need to we need to meet these goals and projections and try to grow. But when you do that, I mean, you really change everything. And so I'm getting to a question here. My
I
question
appreciate
is,
it.
yeah, because I think that's really profound, and I think you find that with a lot of the really best companies, their focus isn't just on the bottom line. Steve Jobs
Right.
says it, and you think, oh well, it's fine for him to say it, but to hear it from somebody who's not, Steve Jobs, and to see it in the tech world growing from smaller to much larger. So the question is, did you find that easy to make that part of your culture, to where even for your salespeople and marketing people, or was that a bit of a challenge for you?
I think it's something we learned, right? So when I started the business, right, and you said, "Hey, why did you start?" Like, I would tell you that I could verbalize why I did it, but in the most simple form, I just kind of wanted to work with people that I liked working with. I obviously wanted to make my life better, and my family's lives better, right, and have an impact on that. But I also cared and wanted to, like, anyone that was aligned with my core values, that approached business and work and ethics the same way that I did. I wanted them to have the benefit and succeed and be along for that ride. So I admired leaders that did that, and so that's what I wanted to be as well, and kind of copy that. Now, did I get like when we wrote our mission statement in the beginning, it was probably like a couple paragraphs. No one could memorize it. No one. It was and wasn't so great. And so one of my mentors that I mentioned in the last podcast, Natalie Dawson. She's got a great book called Teamwork. You can get it for free online. But she really like hammered into us to like turn that mission statement into one sentence. And I'm like, dude, how are you going to do that? There's so much to this question. But we kind of got to that impacting lives through technology, because technology is what we did. If I was an architect, then I'd be, impacting lives through construction or something. It wasn't as much about the technology, but it was impacting lives, and it kind of had a dual meaning in the sense that not only is it helping our clients, it's helping our employees. And then really to answer your question, once it was shortened, saying it every day. So on our all hands meetings would kind of be like, we kind of go through our all hands meeting, be like, and it's not always me saying it. Like we have everybody like that's hosting kind of like, hey, our mission is to impact lives through technology. Our vision is to help 6,000 businesses grow and scale through technology, right? So we start saying it every day because almost every company, like probably 99%, you could go in there and I could grab a random person and be like, hey, what is the mission of the company? And very few can actually verbalize what it is or memorize what it is. So you have to repeat it. At first, it's got to be so short that it's memorable. Second, you got to repeat it every day, every week. Otherwise, people won't memorize it.
Couldn't agree more. And well, let me ask you along those same lines. Was it uncomfortable for people at first? Like, oh, we're just kind of doing this, and then slowly but surely, it just kind of became so natural and a part of things that it's, people started adopting it because repetition's the mother of skill and all kinds of other stuff.
I think when you start saying it, like whatever your vision is, you start saying it a lot, it kind of feels a little forced. It's just going to feel like that, right? It's going to feel a little forced. And then the employees are like, yeah, right. Yeah. It's all good. But it doesn't really, maybe they have some, doubts about whether you're serious about it or not. But when you kind of keep tying it in to the conversation, and they see that the decisions you make are in alignment to that vision and mission, then you start to build that irrefutable proof that, based on your actions and results, that you're serious about that. And, if your actions say something different, then they're not going to believe it. It's the same thing with your core values. So I've worked at a lot of companies where core values, were like put on the wall or something like that, painted on the wall. But nobody ever talked about them or did anything. They were kind of more like inspirational words on the wall. So they just didn't really mean anything, and they were kind of pointless. Whereas where we've learned to tie them into the conversation constantly so that people see how we're making decisions based on the core values. And then another thing we do with the core values is like, let's say, Matt, you were interviewing here, and let's say we went through the initial interview and you were great, and we got through the technical interview and you were great. I would say, hey, Matt, so and you would know this through the very first introduction that there's 3 steps to the process. Hey, Matt, we want to move you into the 3rd step. Thank you so much for being part of this. What we would like you to do on the next step is do a core values presentation like we talked about earlier. And what that is you're going to present to us, it doesn't have to be extremely long, 5 to 7 minutes, on how you've utilized these core values in your personal, professional life in the past, or how you would apply them into this role to be successful. And so now you would be kind of given an open-ended assignment to present to us the core values. And you're going to get like people that are, some people are just going to check out, which is totally fine and
Great. You
good,
didn't want those.
right?
Yeah,
It's
that's a great
perfect.
thing.
You
Yep.
want that. Then you have some people that are going to show up and they maybe just give you, they didn't really listen, they didn't care that much. They'll just give you the definitions, or they will, and you'll learn that even if they have the technical expertise and everything, that their personality would not work in the environment based on like how they handled situations in the past or so on. And then you get the third,
Awesome.
third and fourth group, which is exactly what you want. People that are like, I got to work at this company.
Yeah.
Like, I have to
Brilliant.
work. This is the company, and they're gonna come with, now I'm not going to judge them necessarily on the looks of the presentation,
Sure.
but the alignment to the assignment and how they express themselves and all of that. And it's we've had like, now people are introduced to the core values from the first, through the interview. It already started on the initial like posting, and then it carried on through the interview. Now they come in and they're like, I feel this attachment. If they've come in, it's because they've wanted to be there, and we've attracted them in, and we're attracted to them, right? So
Yeah.
now there's this connection already out of the gate. Now it doesn't mean they're all going to be successful, but the odds have gotten so much better, and the quality of people has gotten so great. I mean, we have such an amazing team, and I feel like the team keeps even get the newer recruits. I'm like, man, where are we finding these amazing people? And that's a big part of it.
Yeah, that's great. See, because I'm a firm believer that there really is there are plenty of people out there. There's some great talent ready, available, and I think there's a lot of crappy bosses that people are just they're working for them because they're paying the bills. But I think that's why we're seeing the quiet quitting being such a big thing right now, is because I think COVID, helped people realize what's important to them, and it changed a lot of people's perspective on what's really important. So when you have a great company that actually cares, and they want good people who want to do something good in the world, not just show up and be a cog in somebody else's machine. And I think that's the difference for basically the last 200 years in this country. We had cogs and machines that were like, yep, that's what we do. We churn, every day. That's what we do. We go in there and we turn this wheel. Fine. But not anymore. Now we've got a lot of really smart people who want to do something good, not just punch a clock. So I think
Yeah.
when you do stuff like what you just did, I think that's brilliant. So let me ask you, and you kind of answered it, but just to be 100% clear, how long ago did you start implementing that into your hiring process?
That was about 2 years ago.
And you've seen huge success since with the
Way better.
night and day.
Yeah. So where you see the success is that the success ratio of the people that join. And
Yeah.
you're gonna, let's just say you have a 50-50 success ratio. Now, can you move it up to 75-25 in your favor? Right? Because only 25% don't work out. Now 75% do work out. That's a much better ratio than a 50-50.
Yeah.
And you'll get that, and allowing them to do the presentation. And by the way, we don't, during the presentation, when they do that 5 to 7 minutes, it's not a hard stop. If they want to go longer, we'll let them, but we don't talk. We just let them go. And then after it's over, then we ask questions on it, because obviously they prepared, they wanted, they want to impress you, they want to, show you why they want to work there. And you'll feel that come across. And then the ones who phone it in, that you'll know that. Now we've also had people that have put effort in, but then we learn through the process that they're not the right person, that they're better aligned maybe with another culture. And that's good for them and it's good for you, because you don't want to bring that person on and then not be successful. So I'll give you an example. Like, one of our core values is teach to promote. So we want to, we're always modeling out what we do. New employees are shown the path to success, so they're mimicking it until they become masters. And we want to teach them and promote them. And we're also doing teach to promote to the outside. Like we're teaching people, we're promoting what we're doing. But this individual, he was a project manager, an IT project manager, very nice resume, lots of experience. And we needed a PM bad at that point. Like we need somebody. And so this guy comes along and we're like, our service manager is like, this guy's perfect. This is it. And we're like, well, we got it. Everyone does the core values. We've got to do the core values. In fact, even my referrals that I've worked with for a long time, I have them do the core values. Now, if I've worked with them, I know they're aligned, but I still do it because I don't want anyone to say that they got through and didn't do it, right? Yeah. And they also need to experience it, so if they're ever in a hiring position, they can say they did it and so on. So anyway, this PM, we have him do the core values, and on the teach to promote slide, he goes into this long story of how he had an employee and he got him promoted. And the more he talks about how he got him promoted, he's like, this guy actually wasn't that good. He kind of sucked. Like, and I would go in behind him and fix all his work. And then eventually he got a promotion. And the more he talked about it, you realize he was kind of bitter about this guy, that he like went back and did all the work and got the guy a promotion. And I'm like, that's the exact opposite of you teaching that guy to be successful and getting promoted. You did work for him. You overworked. He underworked. And then you just fixed it, never fixed the process, and he got promoted and you're mad about it. Like that's the last. It perfectly like illustrated like, this is great, but this is not going to be the right place for him.
That's awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Cyber Business Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.